Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Come on along and welcome aboard. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios here on this Monday. Brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Make sure you get out there. They've got a 0% sales event going on. First time ever in their history. Get out there and check that out. And if you want to get away, the great folks at French Lick Resort and Casino, they're waiting for you, man. Come on down. But Jim Coyle here with you as always. Dylan Sinn for the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Dylan, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, Jim. I'm good. It was another packed weekend of sports, and happy to be here on this Monday.
Lots to get to. Don Fischer will join us. Matt Taylor, man, the Colts. Gosh darn it! I thought that they may go up and upset Buffalo and come out with a win, and they had the opportunities and kind of close, but no cigar. Although we did see to me, I said last week I thought the Colts could pull this off because there's always in the NFL playoffs, in the first round, a team that you're shocked that goes out, but they go out. Unfortunately, that team is the Pittsburgh Steelers, as Cleveland just, what was it, 28-0 in the first quarter? Or was it just 21-0? I mean, I was like, what?
Yeah, it was 28. I mean, that wasn't, I mean, obviously it was surprising, but it wasn't so surprising because the Steelers had been struggling. They started 11-0, and they lost 4 of their last 5. So they'd obviously been struggling. Big Ben looked washed up. The Browns really took it to them. Good for them. First playoff win in decades here.
Unbelievable. I mean, and then now you've got the people who are the haters of Baker Mayfield and all that stuff. It's like, man, what do y'all want? I mean, you just became the champions of Ohio. That's been a long time. You got Cincinnati and Pittsburgh to the south and the north, and they're the kings right now. But yeah, Cleveland is always looked upon as a punching bag for sports for a lot, but man, they're battling. And I know Pat Graham, if you're out there, I know he was sick a while back. Hope you're feeling better, but he's a big Browns fan. I have no idea, and I can't wait to get Pat back on, and we'll get him on soon. But I have no idea what his connection. A lot of times, as a matter of fact, when I see Browns fans, I'm like, why? What's the connection? But it's just funny. But yeah, big day for them. Unfortunately for the Colts, their season's over. We'll talk to Matt Taylor about that as well. But where do they go next? Who's going to be their next quarterback? That's going to be the 64,000 question there, Dylan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, Phillip Rivers was very upset at the end of the game yesterday. Obviously, you don't know what the future holds for him. Obviously, only a 1-year deal. So where do the Colts go? Do they try to re-sign him? Is he going to retire? How is this going to work? It's going to be there's a lot of questions to answer here over the next couple of months, and they're going to have to move quick because there's the quarterback market is always as hot as the coaching market here in the first couple of months after the season.
Harry Kreider from Indiana football program is not going to use his extra year of eligibility. He's declaring for the NFL draft. Makes sense. A guy in that position as a lineman, don't know that he needs to do a whole lot, really. I mean, he's strong enough, and that's the thing. If you're a lineman and going to go to the NFL, you got to be strong enough. You got to have the size and all that, and the experience. He's got all that. He's been here 4 years. He's got the strength, and so best wishes for him. Hope it works out for him. Of course, you always wish that. I'm sure the Indiana fans would love to see him stay. But how about the fact that Ty Freifogel is coming back? Surprised me. I guess I shouldn't say shocked because nothing should shock you now. But I was a little surprised that he came back because he's got his stock's high. But hey, man. That's great news for Indiana. We did see Walt Phillier's not going to come back. That one also surprised me because I did not think that he did enough to really have that path right now, but maybe this is the best time for him, and that maybe that's what he's determined. But Indiana's got the transfer coming in from Florida State. That's kind of a Walt Phillier-esque kind of guy. So, man, you get Michael Penix back, this team is loaded.
Yeah. I mean, Indiana, they are not losing a whole lot from this year's team that was so good. Obviously, Walt Phillier going and Harry Kreider going. Those are big losses. But if those are the biggest losses that you have off of a team that went 6-2, You're in really, really good shape. Ty Freifogel coming back is maybe the biggest news of the offseason for Indiana. It might end up being bigger news than the new defensive coordinator that they hire, because, I mean, that's the Big Ten receiver of the year, the first guy to ever have back-to-back 200-yard receiving games in Big Ten history, coming back for another season. So, absolutely, that's huge news and good for Indiana that they're able to get him for one more year.
Absolutely. And like I said, they can get Michael Penix back. What are you pointing at there? Just go ahead and say it. I don't know what you're saying.
I've got Don on.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Don, the great Don Fischer's with us. Looking for him. Don, how are you, sir?
Good, Jim. How are you?
Doing great. Welcome in the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer here on Indiana Sports Beat. Indiana get the win yesterday on the road in Lincoln, Nebraska, a road that they desperately needed. But it was a game in which we saw them take some things off and get some guys out there and get some points.
Well, the great news was how well Indiana played in the first half offensively, which has been their biggest struggle of late. As you well know, the previous two ball games, I think they scored 21 and 24 points in the first half of those two games, which made it really tough. They were able to win two of the last three, but one of those games against Wisconsin, they scored just 24 points in the first half. And they played the first half like they did yesterday, and that Wisconsin might have been a completely different story. But that said, the great news is that this Indiana basketball team, I think, is starting to find itself a little bit more now with guys coming off the bench and really contributing. Jerome Hunter in the last couple of games has been terrific. Anthony Leal maybe didn't shoot it quite like he did against Wisconsin, but again came through and played some really good minutes in this ball game on Sunday. Rob Fennessy, I thought, was spectacular in the first half. He scored 16 of his 18 points in the first half of the game, and then went out with an injury just before halftime. And I didn't think he was going to be able to come back. They had to help him to the sideline. And it just looked like it was a pretty severe knee strain or whatever the case was. But he came back out in the second half and started the second half, and I was stunned that he was out there. So at any rate, Rob played really well. Al Durham continues to upgrade his play. He had a terrific game as well. So we're starting to see an Indiana basketball team that's starting to hit on all cylinders in many respects. Granted, you didn't like seeing Nebraska make the comeback that they did yesterday, and kind of a little bit of a letdown that we saw from this IU ball club, maybe because they were up by a significant margin. And that's the kind of thing you can't allow to have happen in this league, because, as everybody knows, there's not one team that can't beat you. And Nebraska is going to knock somebody off, even though they're winless in 5 games now in conference play, including yesterday. With Indiana's win 84-76. But this is a team that's got really talented players on it. And all those guys have not played a lot of basketball together, because 8 of these guys are transfers. 5 of them started yesterday. So they're still learning one another. And one of those transfers yesterday, Derek Walker, hadn't played a single minute because of the suspension that he was dealing with from when he was at Tennessee. So he had not even been on the floor with his teammates in a game until yesterday, and he came up with 10 points in that ball game. It just tells you that Fred Hoiberg's got his hands on a bunch of talented kids that are trying to figure it out here, and when they do, they're going to be a handful, to say the least. So honestly, I really like what I've seen from Indiana here for the last couple of weeks. I think there's been a lot of growth in this basketball team. The bench is starting to come around, and it's going to need to, because every single time you walk on the floor in a Big Ten game, it's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, Don, I was going to ask you about that, about the bench, because obviously Armaan Franklin going out, that he's your best shooter, he's your best scoring guard. But is there a little bit of a silver lining there that him going out has forced other guys like Rob and Al and Jerome to step up and kind of provide some scoring punch, and that can lengthen the bench as the season goes on here?
Well, there's no question. I mean, when guys get an opportunity, if they're ready, like we saw from Anthony Leal in the ball game against Wisconsin, when guys get their opportunity and show themselves, it just helps the whole immune of the basketball team. And let's face it, Indiana's big struggles of late have been that they haven't had anybody come off the bench and really give them important minutes up until here in the last couple of weeks. And that's critical. You've got to have a bench that can give some people some relief. Now, they didn't get any in the Wisconsin game. Trey Jackson-Davis played 49 minutes and 17 seconds of a 50-minute game. And you had Al Durham play almost 49 himself. Rob Finnessy played almost 48. So you had some guys that played dramatic numbers of minutes, and that's not necessarily a good thing. I mean, if they're playing handle it from a physical standpoint, that's terrific. But you can't have your big guys, Trace Jackson-Davis, playing 49 minutes very often because that's a real strain. And one of the reasons that maybe he didn't play as well in the Nebraska game because of the number of minutes he played against Wisconsin. You've got to give these guys a little bit of rest. The frontliners on this team, however, are not getting a lot simply because there's nobody else to put in there. But Jerome Hunter came off the bench in the last two games now and has been very productive in both games. So that's a critical part of why Indiana's getting better, because the bench is starting to produce.
Yeah, Don, as I look back, especially with having four freshmen, I would have to say that now you can see that not having that normal pre-conference schedule of 10, 11 games, whatever that is, the four freshmen, we see Anthony Leal starting to get more minutes now. It's just taking longer because this season was so muted. We got other freshmen who are still getting up to speed, but that not having those pre-conference games definitely, I think, has had an impact.
Well, think about it. Right now, Indiana's played 13 games this year. There have only been put in that category of games in which you can put guys out on the floor and learn from it. There were 2 games like that on this schedule. The rest of the time, it has been Katie bar the door. You better be ready to play whoever you're playing. And so we're 13 games in, and this is primarily when you would be starting your conference season right now. And Indiana's already played 6 games. So you're right. There's no question not having those early games to get guys developed a little bit, to understand, to get playing together, to learn one another, those kinds of things. That's usually, you should be through that period now. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now with Indiana, with guys that are starting to contribute 13 games in the season. Unfortunately, we're already 6 games in the conference.
Yeah, I was going to say it more, unfortunately. Purdue doesn't care, and they're up next for Indiana this Thursday at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall. A game very important, obvious reasons, rivalry game, but just another Big Ten game for Indiana to win of importance.
Yep, and there's no question. And Purdue is kind of like Indiana. They got a bunch of young guys that are contributing now, too, and starting to find themselves. And they just came off of a big win at Michigan State this past week, which is the last time they were on the floor. And they're going to be a handful. There's no question about it. Travion Williams played spectacular basketball against Michigan State this past week. And they've got a bunch of guys that have started to gel as well. So, and these 2 teams basically have the same identical record in both regular season and conference play at this point. So it's going to be a challenge. There's no doubt about it. It's always a great matchup when these 2 teams get together. Matt Painter is a remarkably good coach. And there's no doubt. I'm just looking forward to it. It'll be interesting to see how these 2 teams play. Normally, you know that at Indiana, with the Purdue coming into it, the crowd is going crazy, just like they do when Indiana goes to West Lafayette and Mackey Arena goes nuts. The energy that's provided by the crowds in these 2 matchups is always special, and that won't be there. It's just going to be these 2 teams battling it out on their own, and it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it and how they play against one another in that context.
Yeah, I'm going to look forward to seeing because of that rivalry aspect, Dylan.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you, Don. Obviously. Yeah. I was going to ask you, Don. Is that obviously Purdue has kind of controlled this rivalry over the last couple of years here. How big do you think it would be to get a win over this Purdue team at this point in the season? How big could that be for Indiana's confidence as we go forward here?
Well, I would say this, that if this team doesn't realize how important this game is, then we're in trouble. the Indiana-Purdue game is always big, no matter what. And obviously Indiana has had their problems with Boilermakers of late, and that's got to change. Indiana's got to, I can't say dominate Purdue, but they've got to be able to start winning their share of ball games against them. And without doubt, the Boilermakers have got IU's number here of late. And again, Indiana is capable. There's no doubt in my mind that they're capable of beating Purdue, but it has been a real struggle here in the last couple of years to get that done. And Indiana needs to find a way to get it done, especially when you're playing on your home court.
Don, a little bit of sad news I have to ask you about. I saw that A.J. Guyton put this out. He saw it on Ray Tolbert's Facebook page, but apparently Indianapolis Arlington, the Indiana All-Star, former Hoosier, Wayne Radford, has passed away.
I am stunned by that news, to say the least. And Wayne Radford, such a good man, really fine, not just a really fine basketball player, but just a really fine person. And without doubt, one of my favorite players, because he was always an undersized guy at Indiana. Even though he played the guard position, I think he was 6'1" or 6'2". I think they listed him at 6'3". He was always a physical guy. I mean, he had a great body to play this game, was a hard-nosed guy, played hard every minute he was on the floor. But all that aside, he was a terrific person and one of those people that was always fun to be around, always had a positive thing to say. And Wayne's one of my all-time favorite Indiana basketball players. And he played on some teams that were not as successful as others, even though he was on that national championship team in '76. The next couple of years were kind of tough years, and Wayne had to deal with a lot of Bob Knight's antics in those years when Indiana wasn't winning like they had previously done in the previous 2 years, 61-1. So, but Wayne was just a terrific person, and I'm so sad to hear that news.
Yeah, just a huge loss for Hoosier Nation basketball in itself, the state of Indiana, just a great ambassador. I mean, he did so many things. And Indianapolis Arlington, some great names, a former Indiana All-Star, the Pacers. He was an Indiana basketball player.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And he will sorely be missed because, again, he was one of those guys that was never afraid not to speak his mind. He always spoke his mind and would tell you exactly what he thought. And if he thought something was wrong, he would tell you that immediately and do it in a way that you could accept it. And I think all of his teammates revere him as well.
Absolutely. Don, I cannot thank you enough, as always, for coming on with us. What's up next for you? I know you got a busy schedule with the football's over, so that's going to lighten it up for you a little bit, I guess. But you still got the Archie's Coaches Show coming up.
Yep, there's no question. Archie will be on the air with us tonight inside IU basketball at 7:05, and two big ball games this coming week with Purdue on Thursday and Michigan State on Sunday.
Well, Don, I hope you have a great week, man. We appreciate you as always. Have a good day.
Thanks. See you guys.
The great Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat today. As unfortunately we end that with some sad news. Former Hoosier Wayne Radford passing away. Man, that just, you hate anytime you see anything like that. It's horrible, but especially ones that you don't really get to hear about for a little bit, and it just jumps up. But man, I did not have the pleasure of really of knowing him and knowing his play, because that was kind of in that time, which right before me. But I've just talked to so many people, never heard anything other than great things about Wayne Radford. It's just a sad thing to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, as you talked about, he's one of these guys that was just Indiana basketball all the way through. Grew up in Indianapolis, then played at IU, and then played for the Pacers for a season. So he was an Indiana guy all the way through. And yeah, that's really, really tough news.
Yep, absolutely. That's tough for Hoosier Nation. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of that come out throughout the day. But unfortunately, Wayne Radford, a former Hoosier great, has passed away. But we had Don Fischer on, and I think that was probably the first that Don heard of that. It sounds like from that. So, man, we got plenty more to get to. Matt Taylor's going to join us from Indianapolis Colts as their season has come to a close. They lose in Buffalo yesterday in a tough one, man. Now you have to find out what's next for the Colts. Who's going to be the next quarterback? What are they going to do? Plenty to talk about. Indiana basketball coming up as they'll take on Purdue this week. UK gets a big transfer from West Virginia, but we got plenty more to get to. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by the great folks of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. 0% sales event going on right now. Never happened in their history. This is the time to get you a Honda. Get over there. You look, Indiana Sports Beat coming back from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Hey, this is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you'll find complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. The 2021 golf season is just around the corner. Book your next outing or get your membership from the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Just call 812-824-4040. And whether you're playing golf or not, you'll want to check out the new Psalms Clubhouse. It's open to the public for lunch or dinner, and the food is fantastic. Call 812-824-4040 for reservations or tee times. The Golf Club at Eagle Point and Psalms Clubhouse. A winner every time.
Does your bank offer the personal service of a community bank combined with big bank products that you expect? I'm Dane Chandler, Banking Center Manager with Banterra, and with our bank, you get the best of both worlds. Our easy-to-use mobile app includes conveniences like mobile check deposit. We offer competitive CD and money market rates, smart mortgage options, and unmatched business products and services. Switching to Banterra is easy. Stop by our locations to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The college and pro football seasons bring friends together, and Leroy's Tavern is a place to watch all the games every week with the NFL Sunday Ticket while enjoying $1 Busch Light drafts every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy's Tavern also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be part of the karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50 years at 2659 Mount Vernon.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
You should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios on this Monday. Jim Coyle and Dylan Sinn with you as always. Brought to you by the great folks from Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. 0% sales event going on right now. That's never happened in their history. That tells you something. It's time to get a Honda. Indiana gets a win yesterday, Dylan, in Lincoln. A must-win game because it was against Nebraska, and that would have been bad. They were in control of the game most of the time. Nebraska never went away. It was a game that Indiana needed, I think. Don Fischer alluded to it, but we saw something we haven't seen. Their veteran guards get up and get out in a hurry. And Rob Finney, he has a career high in the first half. 14 points was his career high. I think he ended with 18 on the game, but that's something that they have needed from him all season. And I talked to Don a minute ago about the fact that normally this is a year this has hurt the freshmen because you don't have those games, those pre-conference games. Normally we would be here. This is not a guy that needs that time. He should have been up to speed, allowing those freshmen to get up to speed. And it's great that he's there now, but that has definitely hurt this team. Those guys not being up to speed, the veterans not being up to speed much quicker, I think.
Yeah, and that was an issue early in the year, was that neither of those guys, Rob or Al, was shooting particularly well. They were both under 30% from three-point range until very, very recently. So it's great to get them going as we get further this season. But yeah, you're right. They did not play well. Rob was he was moved out of the starting lineup in favor of Trey Galloway. Maybe he'll move back into it now because so many minutes. He was not playing. Kind of see him come out of it. A couple really big baskets. Maybe it's
a bad connection with you right now, Dylan.
Sorry. Can you now?
Yeah, it's much better. But yeah, it's important that not only Rob but also Al Durham. I mean, he was yesterday as well. I had the stats pulled up a minute ago when we were talking to Don and closed them back out. Now I can't find them, but oh yeah, here we go. He talked about Jerome Hunter. He's got 20 minutes. He had 9 points, almost in double figures. Indiana almost had 6 players in double figures. That's something we haven't seen either. Balanced scoring. It's usually been Trace Jackson Davis getting 26 or something and somebody else getting a big chunk. But they were balanced yesterday. You had 15 points for Trace Jackson. Race Thompson had 11. 11 and 5. That's a nice stat. That's a stat line you'd love to see from him a lot. 5 rebounds, double-digit points. Rob Finney, 18 points. Trey Galloway with 8, almost in double figures. Anthony Leal gets 21 minutes. He only scored 3 points, 4 rebounds, but getting those minutes, uber importance for him as his development continues, especially now. They've got to get up to speed quick because the Big Ten is here. And you've got another game on Thursday. It's in that you're supposed to win this game category. When they play Michigan and some of these other teams, I'm not going to put that into they're supposed to win that game category because realism. I see where they are. This is a game they're supposed to win, but they also need to win this game for multiple reasons. The rivalry aspect, the aspect of the fact that Archie's 0-6 against Matt Painter is glaring like a gigantic neon flashing sign right now. Especially to recruits. You can't keep losing to Purdue and expect and wonder why recruits are heading in the other direction. Are you there? We still got you, Dylan? Not sure if we can still have Dylan or not, but you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat here on coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Looking forward to talking to Matt Taylor a little bit later from the Colts. Fortunately, their season has come to a close for them, unfortunately, but the NFL will continue. The season has come to a close for the Steelers as well, man, as the Browns jumped up and shocked them yesterday. That was more than a surprise. Iowa took care of Minnesota on the hardwood, 86-71. Maryland over Illinois. How about that? They go to Illinois and knock off the Illini. Maryland's an enigma. They're funny. They've gone to Wisconsin, beat number 6 Wisconsin. They come to Indiana. They lose a tough one to Indiana. Now they go to number 12 Illinois, and they get a win there. That's really going to be a nice stamp for their resume. They're a team that is down by near Indiana in the standings, but yet they've gotten some quality wins, quality road wins on top of that. So that is going to bolster that. They would have to fall apart to not make the tournament now. Even if they finished 7th, 8th, I don't think it would matter because of the quality wins that they have. That's the thing that's a type of win that Indiana needs to get, or two. They come close. Wisconsin, that would have been one of those wins. That one of those tough, hard-fought road wins. Which the road games, I don't know if they're the same on paper this year as they have been in the past. But they're not the same in reality. A road game is no longer a normal road game. It is not nearly as difficult. Coming into the Simon Scott Assembly Hall does not pose the daunting task that it certainly used to for opposing teams. Not right now. Hell, they're a lot of times they can turn it into their own little party on their end of the corner by bringing the energy. So it's the road and home not really relevant anymore, Dylan, is Indiana, but you still have to protect your home. Purdue coming in, I'm just talking about, this season, home and away is almost irrelevant now because there is no home and away advantage other than your comfortability when you're home. But you still have to protect your home. I don't know that it's in seasons past, if you lose home games to certain teams, it's a bad look. Now, though, you lose to these same teams. I don't know that looks is quite the same because of the situation is completely different. I think I'm not sure if Dylan's still with us or not. Can't really tell, but we'll keep going. Let's see. Notre Dame and Virginia Tech also in action yesterday in the ACC. Virginia Tech knocks off Notre Dame 77-63. The NFL Monday games, they're done. We're in the playoffs, man. The playoffs have started. How did your team fare? I didn't get a chance to watch a whole lot of that. Unfortunately, the Colts are out. Let's see. Make sure we don't miss our break here. 9:26. Dylan, are you back with us by now? I can't tell if Dylan's with us or not. I'm sorry about having a little difficulty today. Some other games yesterday on the hardwood. Or not hardwood, but in the NFL, you saw that Cleveland score. How about that? Putting 48 points on the Steelers. And Baltimore, Lamar Jackson. Man, he was special yesterday. That was fun to watch him. 20-17 as they knock off Tennessee. New Orleans, they're going to keep going. I didn't know Chicago. I didn't know the Bears even made the playoffs. But, man, they made it rough for New Orleans as they win that one 21-9. And so then we move forward in the playoffs. But more about that when Matt Taylor joins us here at 9 in the next segment. Looking forward to talking to see what the Colts are going to do next, because that's the big question. Who's going to quarterback the Colts? Are they going to bring back Phillip Rivers? I just don't think that people want to see that. He was a patchwork. He was a Band-Aid this year, and he did that. He did exactly what he needed to do. You cannot complain about what he accomplished during the regular season for the Colts. They ended up, 11-4 in the regular season, made the playoffs, just could have won the division had they were able to one more game. But you also saw yesterday great limitations. Man, oh man, did they have opportunity after opportunity, and they could not take advantage of it, and it cost them the game. Of course, man, that drop in the end zone kind of reminds you of the Indiana-Wisconsin game back earlier in the year. That's tough to see, to watch the ball go right through someone's hands 5 yards open in the end zone. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. But we'll see what they do going forward. Dylan, I'm talking about whether or not the Colts keep Phillip Rivers. Of course, they've got to do something to move forward. I think we saw his ceiling. His ceiling is good enough to get this team into playoffs, but that's where it stops. And if you want to go forward in that, you've got to have somebody who can take you to that next level. I think Dylan's still having problems, man. I don't know what's going on with him today, but we'll continue to try to get back with him. And see, we've got plenty more coming up here. We may make it a little early segment on this, Noah. Let's go ahead and take a break, and we'll try to get Matt on with us. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Monday, brought to you by the fine folks at Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. They've got a 0% sales event going on right now. That's never happened in their history. Get out there and take advantage of that right off of Highway 37 in Bloomington between 2nd and 3rd Street. Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. We're back with more right after this. Noah, are we cleared? Noah, are we clear?
You can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville,
Noah,
located on the northeast corner of I-65.
Turn the commercials down so I can hear you.
Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas.
Call Dylan or something. I don't know what's going on with his internet connection today, but just call him. It's not working.
Yeah,
There you go. He's back.
Well, I'm back for now, but it's been going in and out, and I don't know exactly what's happening. My internet seems fine. I'm having no issues otherwise, so I don't know what the problem is. And so what's happening is I'll get on and I'll hear you clearly for like 3 or 4 seconds, and then you'll start cutting out, and I can't hear what you're saying. So it was fine for a segment here. I don't know exactly what's happening, but I guess we kind of just.
Or do it by phone if we have to. Or do it by phone if we have to.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I haven't been able to hear you talk for like, I keep Don couldn't hear you. Like, there's just gigantic lags every time, and
yeah, what it is. Okay.
I don't know if is it on your end, Noah? What's your internet like there?
My internet's good here. Jim, you've been good this whole time. Dylan, it's got to be either something with his phone or his internet because it just keeps coming in and out on him.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure because like the internet seems to be fine here, so I don't know what the issue is. But I can call in, I suppose. But yeah,
see, like right now, it's working just fine.
It is like, and it was working just fine for me the first segment or two. So
if it goes out again, Noah, just call him. If it goes out again. All right, so we're early on this break, so we're still out at 9:51 on this, right?
Yes.
But this is Matt Taylor coming on, right?
Yeah, I texted him saying he's good to come on.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I
don't know. That's the world, man. That's world problems, technological problems, out of our control.
Football seasons bring friends together. The Leroy's Tavern is the place to watch all the games every week with the NFL Sunday Ticket while enjoying $1 Busch Light drafts every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy's Tavern also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be part of the karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50 years at 2659 Mount Vernon.
Hey, this is Jordan Hall, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Stollersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
You do ever what you want to do, coming over you. Keep on smiling what we go through.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Monday, brought to you by the fine folks at Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. 0% sales event going on right now. Get out there and check that out. Also, Fritz Slick Resort Casino. They're open, waiting for you, man. I can't wait to get down there. Looking forward to that. Tonight, though, Dylan, the national championship. It's Alabama. It's Ohio State. It's the Marbles. How many coaches want to see Ohio State lose this game? And how many does it not matter to? Is it just the Dabo Sweeneys of the world who are been out of shape because Ohio State didn't play the same amount of games because they were handed a lot? They were given a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ohio State, they went down there and they proved how good they are by kind of beating the brakes off of Clemson down there. So I don't know how if Ohio State beats Alabama, which obviously is a tall task, and Alabama is favored in this one. But if they beat Alabama, they've gone through the two best teams in the country. Everyone agreed were the two best teams in the country, and there should be no reason that people should begrudge them the championship at that point just because they played fewer games. I don't see how playing 4 more games against Big Ten teams, none of which would have been any good. Maybe they would have had to play Iowa, which would have been a relatively difficult game, but games against Michigan or Maryland, I don't think Ohio State was in serious danger of losing those games. So I don't see why that should affect their championship pedigree. But yeah, I'm sure there are some coaches out there that are rooting for them to lose just because they don't think it's fair that they got to play fewer games and make the playoff. But if they go through Clemson and Alabama, they will have earned it just as well as anyone else would have.
After the egg that Indiana laid in Tampa at the Outback Bowl to Ole Miss, does Ohio State winning the national championship elevate them, help them in any way with the way they played? Because I think people still look at that Indiana team as the team that had Michael Penix, and then they saw the team that did not have Michael Penix. If he's back next year, do they view that if Ohio State wins the national championship, does Indiana get a little of that coattail action that they didn't get a lot of this year?
Yeah, you like to think so, right? Because I mean, we saw Indiana put up a better fight against Ohio State than Clemson did, right? Indiana was in that game in the fourth quarter. They had a chance to tie it. They shut down Ohio State's offense. Ohio State's offense did not score for the final 27 minutes of that game against Indiana. Now, obviously, they weren't able to shut down Ole Miss in quite the same way. But you have to wonder whether that's an end of the year fatigue thing, or whether that was partly because of COVID that Indiana was out for a while. So we'll see. You'd think they get a little bit of respect as being maybe if Alabama's close tonight and Ohio State wins, being one of the two teams that was able to keep Ohio State close all year.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I don't know, giving them a chance. Alabama's an 8.5 point favorite. That's strong to me against this Ohio State team. But that's still the national pundits. I think they still just see Alabama in a different class with everybody else, any and everybody. It doesn't matter if it's Clemson or Ohio State. It would have been interesting to see what the spread would have been against Clemson. I don't think it would have been this high because I think people thought Clemson was better than they are, personally.
No, I think part of it too is, I mean, we saw Indiana kind of put up a lot of passing yards against Ohio State's pass defense, so they're a little bit vulnerable in the secondary. We didn't see that as much against Clemson, but obviously Alabama's offense is kind of a different animal. So you could see Alabama putting up a lot of points in this game, and it's going to be a question of whether Ohio State can score with them. We saw Sean Wade this week about how he wants Devontae Smith and he wants to be able to cover him, and that's a dangerous game he's playing. You know, how Alabama put up a lot of points in this team, so we'll see if Ohio State can score with them.
I think we got Matt Taylor with us now from the Colts. Matt, you there?
I'm here, guys. What's going on?
How are you, brother? How's it going?
Doing good. Just kind of putting everything to bed, unfortunately, after a playoff loss.
Yeah, well, at least you didn't get slimed yesterday and lose at the same time. But, yeah, talking about a tough loss, tough game. Going into that game, had said many times, I think that the Colts may go up there and knock them off because there's always a team that shocks you in the first round of the playoffs. Unfortunately, it was the Pittsburgh Steelers this year that shocked everybody, but they gave it a valiant effort, but not quite enough for the Colts to move on in the playoffs this year.
No, yeah, just too many mistakes. Too many mistakes to beat a sound football team like the Bills. I mean, just kind of a quick synopsis, drop passes. You had a crucial penalty late in the first half, a missed chip shot field goal, too many other promising drives that died too soon. I mean, the Colts did so many things well to win this football game, and the unfortunate truth of it is they became the first team in the history of the NFL playoffs to lose after putting up more than 450 yards without a turnover before Saturday. That only happened 11 times, and those teams were 11-0, right? So it's kind of heartbreaking. So I mean, you're talking about a team that achieved so much. They executed a blueprint pretty much to a T to win the game. I mean, they outgained the Bills 472 to 397. They didn't turn the ball over. They only had 2 penalties, converted 53% of their third downs. They held Buffalo to 2 for 9 on third down, which is just 22%. They were the best third down team in the NFL. They dominated time of possession by about 9 minutes. They had a season high 27 first downs, and they still lost. It's a heartbreaking loss considering they played so well, kind of controlled the box score in the key areas. But situational football just doomed the Colts. 2 for 5 inside the red zone. Some fourth down misses. The special teams. Some controversial calls or decisions by the coaching staff. It just kind of all added up to close but no cigar. In a game where you lose by 3 points, there's so many things you can go back and look at and say, what if?
Yeah, I think back of the Indiana Bowl game, and these games are just magnified so much because in any other regular season game, these mistakes that were made, and you notice them, but they don't stick out as much. But man, oh man, when it's a do or die, a season ender, they're just magnified. And when you drop a wide open pass in the end zone, when you don't take advantage of the opportunities that were presented to you, it's heartbreaking for the fans because this is the moment you had to be prepared for it, and it doesn't look that way. But it's just not how things go for them sometimes.
Yeah, I mean the first half was going back and looking at the game and thinking retrospectively, the first half is what stands out because the Colts had a total of 7 offensive drives where they made it into Bills territory and came away with 0 points. I mean, think about that. 7 drives that cross the 50 that end with nothing. Most of those came in the first half. I mean, the Colts in the first 2 quarters won the field position battle, again, the time of possession battle, the total yardage battle, first down battle, and they were trailing at halftime 14-10. The Colts had 5 drives in the first half that got inside Bills territory and only came away with 10 points. And the most devastating stretch there was the Colts had 1st and goal at the 1-yard line, weren't able to get it in. They went for it on 4th and goal from the 4 after losing a couple yards on 3rd down, a pass that's just out of the reach of Michael Pittman in the back corner of the end zone. Colts get nothing there under the 2-minute warning. So now with about 90 seconds left in the first half, the Bills go on a 10-play drive, 96 yards. They get a touchdown right before the half, and they defer to the second half. So they got the ball first to begin the third quarter, and they got a field goal. So they scored 10 points. They won that roundabout that we talk about, right, where you get a score at the end of the half and a score at the beginning of the third quarter. They won the roundabout, so 10 points basically from the time the Colts had a realistic possession, and they were just playing catch up from then on out. They were down 14-0, outscored 17-0 at one point in the second half. We're down 14 to begin the fourth quarter. And give the Colts credit. I mean, they came storming back. They scratched and clawed like they always do. They always play a full 60 minutes, but getting down multiple scores was too much for them to rally back and tie the game late.
Yeah, and Phillip Rivers, a great season for him. 4,100 yards passing, 24 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. But still, the biggest question for the Colts next year is who's going to be at quarterback, what they're going to do at quarterback, because we know he's on his way out. He was a Band-Aid, and he did exactly what he was expected to do. You could not have asked anything more than they had 11-4 regular season. But now that you go forward, you've got to look at the future of the franchise. Where do they go? Where do they turn? I know that answer is not – that question's not there right now, but that's the question.
It is the question. And, it's one of those things where you're less than 17, 18 months removed from Andrew Luck retiring, and there's no perfect scenario in that short amount of time to figure out, the franchise quarterback situation. The Colts they are in a very complicated quarterback conundrum right now because the facts are, Rivers played on a 1-year deal. It expires in March. The only quarterback on the roster under contract for next season is Jacob Eason, and he didn't even play. I mean, he wasn't even active all season long, right? So you're talking about a guy that basically took, half of the snaps that he normally would have in a regular training camp setting. And here's the thing. I mean, nobody should question the playoff worthiness, if you will, of the Colts, even after that loss to the Bills. I mean, this is a team that's good. They've got a young core. It's built for sustained success. Chris Ballard's done a really good job of bringing in a lot of talent over the last couple of years. So until a better option is discovered at quarterback, I think Phillip Rivers is going to be here in 2021. That's just my opinion. Frank, Chris Ballard, Jim Irsay, they're all going to get together here sometime soon, and they're going to discuss, what's the best interest of the team going forward. Is that giving Rivers another extension, a 1-year deal, kind of mirroring what they gave him last March, or move on to plan B? And I don't even know what plan B is right now because, again, it's not like the Colts are going to be drafting in the top 5 or top 10 where they can get an elite young quarterback. I mean, that's sort of the complicated conundrum that I'm talking about right now. This is a team that's good, and they're trying to win right now because they're set up that way outside of every other position outside of quarterback, but obviously Phillip Rivers is not going to be here in 3 years, 4 years. And how do the Colts best get a young, talented quarterback in here for the long term without tanking, without having a bad season?
Dylan?
Yeah, the other side of the ball too is I heard you on the broadcast yesterday at the end of the game how Colts had, I believe it was the 31st or 32nd ranked pass defense over the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season. What do you think happened at the end of the year, and what can they do to go about fixing that down for next?
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I'm not sure what happened, to be honest with you. I mean, the easy thing is to point to the fact that the schedule really ramped up on the Colts around week 7, week 8, heading into the month of November, which we've talked about a lot, Tennessee, Green Bay, Houston with Deshaun Watson, Derek Carr, he's an above average quarterback, Pittsburgh with Ben Roethlisberger, then in the playoffs with Josh Allen. I mean, some of these quarterbacks, they took advantage of the Colts in the secondary. I mean, all of those quarterbacks that I mentioned all threw over 300 yards, throwing Aaron Rodgers in there as well. They all had big games against the Colts. So, I don't know if some of the numbers at the beginning of the season look so good because the Colts are playing teams like the Jets and the Bengals and, the Vikings, who weren't very good at the beginning of the season. But they got to get that figured out. I mean, this is sort of 2 years in a row now where in the last half of the season, last quarter of the season, they gave up a lot of big plays. And that's sort of the antithesis of what this scheme is defensively, or what it's supposed to not give up under Matt Eberflus. So the fact that it did 2 years in a row down the stretch against some elite quarterbacks is concerning, because you're talking about wanting to build some sustained playoff viability, and the fact that you can't calm down elite quarterbacks, which obviously you're going to see in the playoffs year in and year out, that's concerning. So they got to get that calmed down. They have to address that in the offseason. And the thing about it is I think the Colts have the necessary talent. Like Kenny Moore obviously is a great football player. Xavier Rhodes had a terrific year. Now he's a free agent. Is he going to be coming back? Same thing with TJ Carey. Malik Hooker, they have a decision to make on him. So they've kind of taken a step further. The Colts have a lot of key free agents to make calls on, and a lot of those guys are on the defensive side of the ball. So that's going to be fun to kind of watch and monitor this offseason, because, some of the guys that are up are guys that have been part of 2 years in a row where the passing numbers have really inflated against them. Do they need to bring in some new blood in free agency or address some of those needs in the secondary in the draft?
What we'll get to do, though, until then is watch the rest of the playoffs, Matt. And yesterday, some of the games we saw the Rams beat the Seahawks 30-20, Buccaneers over Washington. The Ravens, that was a fun game as they beat the Titans 20-13. The Saints over the Bears, and then the Browns, man. They put up 48 points on the Steelers, and they move on. That was probably a little surprise. But how important is it to see the Browns do something now? It's neat to see some of these teams that have been down for so long come up.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a weekend here where the Buffalo Bills, who had the third longest playoff drought in terms of a playoff win, they get off the schneid. And then I think Cleveland had the fourth longest playoff drought. So both franchises have a lot to celebrate. They get their first playoff win since the mid-'90s. So pretty cool, to see some of these fan bases rejoice and have a lot to be excited about as they head to the divisional round. But Cleveland got off to a fantastic start last night, from the get-go, and that really put the Steelers behind the 8 ball. And that's the thing about Pittsburgh on offense. I mean, they're not going to run the ball anyways, but when they got down 21 points, then it was 28. I mean, Roethlisberger had 62, 65 pass attempts last night. So that's incredibly one-dimensional. You can't win playing that way in the NFL playoffs when you get down that early, that big, so quickly. So yeah, I think Buffalo might be, when you look at some of the analytics and some of the the numbers that they kind of weigh into, strength of schedule, how good you played, who you played, when you beat them, how bad you beat them. Buffalo might be the best team in the NFL. And I know some people say, wait a minute, what about Kansas City? I mean, hey, numbers kind of speak for themselves right now. And that's what's most frustrating about the Colts is they had that team beat. And, I think you can kind of look at that game on Saturday from a Colts perspective, and you say the Colts lost it, not the Bills won it. Obviously, they made their fair share of plays. You have to give them credit. But I think there's at least a small amount of people nationally that say, hey, the Colts lost that game and they doomed themselves with some of the decisions and some of the, not able to make key plays at key times. So that's what's encouraging about this team going forward is that, they beat in the last 2 years. They've beaten the Kansas City Chiefs on the road, the Green Bay Packers. Those are the 2 number 1 seeds in the conferences. And they went toe-to-toe with the Buffalo Bills and probably should have won. So there's a lot of excitement, a lot of optimism going forward, but some key decisions have to be made this offseason, and obviously it starts with quarterback.
Absolutely. Matt, I can't thank you enough, brother. Look forward. We'll talk about it next week and see who's winning still and who's where.
You got it, boys. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. The great Matt Taylor, the voice of the Indianapolis Colts, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat on this Monday. And we've got more coming up as Dylan Sinn is sitting in with me from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. I'm Jim Coyle. We'll be back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, right after this. Yay. What, Dylan, what are you writing about?
At Veterans Parkway, Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over...
Yeah, I think I'm just going to have to call him.
All right. Yeah, because right then I was letting him ask a question, and he sits there for 10 seconds. I'm like, God damn it. Well, he just can't hear me, but
You'll find complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to thehoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place it's podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. The 2021 golf season is just around the corner. Book your next outing or get your membership from the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Just call 812-824-4040. And whether you're playing golf or not, you'll want to check out the new Psalms Clubhouse. It's open to the public for lunch or dinner, and the food is fantastic. Call 812-824-4040 for reservations or tee time. The Golf Club at Eagle Point and Psalms Clubhouse. A winner every time.
Does your bank offer the personal service of a community bank combined with big bank products that you expect? I'm Dane Chandler, Banking Center Manager with Banterra, and with our bank, you get the best of both worlds. Our easy-to-use mobile app includes conveniences like mobile check deposit. We offer competitive CD and money market rates, smart mortgage options, and unmatched business products and services. Switching to Banterra is easy. Stop by our locations to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The college and pro football seasons bring friends together, and Leroy's Tavern is a place to watch all the games every week with the NFL Sunday Ticket while enjoying $1 Busch Light drafts every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy's Tavern also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be part of the karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50 years at 2659 Mount Vernon.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Monday, brought to you by the fine folks at Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. They've got a 0% sales event going on right now. That has never happened. It's an opportunity to get out there and get yourself a Honda. Dylan Sinn with me from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette as well. Dylan, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. It's good to be back here. I've had some connection troubles there for a little bit, but I'm glad to be back.
Yep, I've got him by phone right now. Tonight, the national championship happens. I hope it's a game that we expect it to be. I think it will be, but we can't control that. But, man, if Ohio State wins, I think it's just going to open up a whole bunch of discussion that I'm looking forward to. But I don't think it matters who wins this game. Ohio State is as good and ready. They've been through everything that everybody else has been through. You've been through a season that in and out with COVID. It's just a crazy season in every sport across the board. Everything has just been changed. You look at who's winning, who's losing. It has been the most topsy-turvy sports year ever.
Yeah, I mean, bowl season is always different, right? Because, I mean, you never know how your team is going to respond to having time off and the regular season and your bowl game, how you're going to prepare. So bowl season often doesn't tell us a whole lot about how good a team was all year long. There's always plenty of surprises, and it's more about how well, like I said. But yeah, it's been a very interesting postseason here, and it's kind of flips some things on its head in terms of what the narrative was about some of these teams during the season. The Big Ten has had a great postseason other than Indiana. The Big 12 has been very, very good. So it's been interesting to see some of these narratives flip just a little.
You know, I talked earlier, it may just be the Dabo Sweeneys, and that may not be very many of those, but, you know, he voted Ohio State 11th in his last poll and then went out and got his butt handed to him by that team. But I wonder how many teams or coaches feel that way. I just don't see the point in it. It's especially from a coach. They know how difficult the season was, how difficult to get through the season was for everyone. The teams within the Big Ten cannot control the moronic leadership that was exhibited in and out of the season that put them through this. So I don't understand why these teams or these few people are coming at the Big Ten schools like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably it's anything to kind of pump up your own conference and kind of push the Big Ten down a little bit. But a lot of it is probably about recruiting and putting some of that out in the media about how the Big Ten didn't play enough games, et cetera. Everything always comes back to recruiting in college sports, of course. But yeah, I mean, the Big Ten, you obviously, Ohio State has been through just as much as almost any other team in the country. They had to start, they stopped, they started, they stopped again. So they've had some coronavirus issues as the season has gone on. They had games canceled. They had other teams cancel games on them. They lost their game against their biggest rival, and they just all they've done is win. So obviously, if they go up and beat Alabama, there's no way you can say, well, they didn't really deserve it, because they would have gone through Alabama and Clemson to get to the title, and those are the teams that everyone thought were the two best teams all season. Like I said earlier, I don't see how playing a couple of mediocre Big Ten teams would have strengthened their case in any way. If Ohio State wins tonight, they're the national champions. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly, and it would, other than a beatdown of Alabama, that would open up a whole other discussion. But I'm looking forward to it. We'll certainly find out. Other college football news in the Big Ten, the Big Ten East, you'll still see Jim Harbaugh's face. It wasn't too long ago that I was pointing out, there are going to be massive changes in the Big Ten East. We've already seen lots of different faces and coaches there, with Michigan State changing, Maryland changing, Indiana, if you want to count that in the last 4 years. But even Ohio State has changed in the last couple of years. Michigan re-signed or extends Jim Harbaugh. That was the big question. Are they going to keep him? Is he going to stay or go? He signed for a lot less money. He was making a bunch. I think he was making like $7.5 million on his previous contract, but I think that's basically been cut in half. This is the contract that this is to me how all coaching contracts should be. It's based on performance. I think they should all be that way. That's why these schools get in trouble, and you have all these coaches that you can't get rid of for another 3 years because the buyout is so ridiculous. It's crazy. On this one, basically there is no buyout, but after a couple of years, but new contract. Probably the best route for Michigan to go, really. Losing the guy who you thought was going to be your savior would have been a bad look. It's just probably the best route for Michigan to go, I think, Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, you can absolutely make the case that it's the best route for them to go. Obviously, there was a significant segment of the Michigan fan base that wanted Jim Harbaugh to depart after the season. It seems like he seriously considered departing. And there were reports he was talking to several different NFL teams. Obviously, he didn't make that jump and ended up coming back to Michigan for a significant pay cut. So you wonder whether those NFL talks didn't pan out in the way that he would have liked, and then he ended up coming back to Michigan for that pay cut. But obviously, he has the type of incentive in his contract where he can get his salary back up to what it was or even higher if Michigan plays well. So it's a very incentive-laden contract. A low buyout contract, so if Michigan wants to cut the ball the next 2 years here, it would be financially crippling. So I think that there's definitely some logic to it. It's just a question of was this season kind of a 1 year blip for the Wolverines? Can they bounce back next season, even with some significant holes on the roster, or are they going to be in for a couple of rough seasons here?
A lot of coaching changes throughout college football. South Carolina's added some new coordinators. Indiana is still searching for their defensive coordinator. Who's that going to be? That's a question. Is it going to be someone from within, or is someone with experience going to be brought in? And by experience, it's not necessarily just as experience as a defensive coach, just experience as a coach. I think that this team could probably, more than anything, use experience on this staff. So when they get into big games, you have someone that is there, and then whether it's keeping people calm or making calmer decisions or smarter decisions at crunch time, I think that is just a necessity. Just a thought, but I just experience is just something this team needs. I think a lot of it's the one thing that they're lacking, Dylan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw Indiana this year. They had two of the youngest coordinators in college football, right? Obviously, Nick Sheridan and Kane Womack were both in their 30s, very young, very relatively inexperienced in terms of in terms of their college football resume. And obviously, they're both very, very talented guys, but it's a question of where do you go next, right? Do you kind of do a reset on the defense and say, hey, we like the personnel that we have, but we'd like a coach that has a lot of experience that knows how to win at the college football level. And the question is, how many guys out there are like that? Obviously, Don Brown left Michigan. He's already at Arizona now. The big name on the market was Marcus Freeman, who's now he ended up at Notre Dame from Cincinnati. So where does Indiana go next? They could promote from within. They had some veteran guys on the coaching staff already. I've mentioned Brandon Shelby's name a couple times because he's been on the coaching staff at Indiana for 10 years.
He does not have previous coordinator experience, and I think that's a necessity for Coach Allen.
Yes, exactly. So where does Coach Allen go next? And obviously, as we saw with Kalen DeBoer last season, Indiana has the pull now to kind of bring in someone with top tier experience. And so where do they go from here? I think that's a big question as we get into the offseason.
Absolutely. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish, they reached down to Cincinnati. We saw Cincinnati have an outstanding season, wondering what will happen with Luke Fickell. Well, he ended up someplace. Well, his defensive coordinator, Marcus Freeman, he's gone to South Bend. He will be the new DC up at Notre Dame. So there's a move there for the Fighting Irish. And I wonder how will Cincinnati be able to keep that staff intact? Is Luke Fickell, is he there for another season before he goes someplace?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question right now, right? Luke Fickell and Matt Campbell of Iowa State are the two names in the coaching market that can really shake things up. There's not really a whole lot of super high-profile coaching openings this year. Now, if Michigan had come open and Harbaugh had gone to the NFL, that would have really shaken things up. But there's not really a ton of high-profile openings. The Texas job was already filled. USC seems like it's going to stick with Clay Helton for another year, so we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be tough for Cincinnati to hang on to Luke Fickell. Obviously, he could pick just about any job that he wants at this point. But I mean, they have Indiana and Notre Dame on the schedule next season. So if they have a good team and a good season, next year might be the season where if Cincinnati goes undefeated, they could have a legitimate case at a playoff spot. Right? I thought they had a legitimate case this year, but the college football playoff committee didn't think so. But if you beat Notre Dame and Indiana and then go undefeated in your conference, it's going to be hard to keep them out.
Yeah, I was going to say that Cincinnati comes to Bloomington. I think it's the third game of the season. I think if I'm remembering right, I know they open at Iowa, and then I forget who it is, and then Cincinnati. That's a big. That could be a I don't know if it's going to be a top 10 matchup that early. If Indiana beats Iowa, that could possibly be a top 10 matchup, even though it's that early in the season for Indiana. If they beat Iowa at Iowa, I think that what they did this year will be reflected in that. I don't know where they're going to start in the polls next year. It's going to be very interesting to see, but that could be a top 10 matchup, man.
Yeah, and obviously in Bloomington, you could have college game day there, second week of the season. That'd be a whole heck of a lot of fun, right? So Indiana, yeah, that game against Iowa at the start of the season, that there's going to be a lot of emotions running high in that game. Obviously, Gary Bourne is the future of the season.
Looking forward to it. We got to take a break. You're listening to Indiana Sports. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Monday, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. We're back with more to finish it out right after this.
Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not covering the Hoosiers. You can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Maybe it doesn't sound as bad as I think it does, Noah, because even the commercial sounded hollow there.
The dining area. We're meeting friends for half.
That's just how it is right now on the stream. I gotta go back and forth between.
We all want a
mics,
winning
so
smile for those
takes a
championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at
I think a
Reynolds
little bit
Family
does have to
Dentistry
do
in
with
Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental
phone
needs of
connection
Hoosier
with Dylan.
families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Hey, this is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you'll find complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. The 2021 golf season is just around the corner. Book your next outing or get your membership from the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Just call 812-824-4040. And whether you're playing golf or not, you'll want to check out the new Psalms Clubhouse. It's open to the public for lunch or dinner, and the food is fantastic. Call 812-824-4040 for reservations or tee times. The Golf Club at Eagle Point and Psalms Clubhouse. A winner every time.
Does your bank offer the personal service of a community bank combined with big bank products that you expect? I'm Dane Chandler, Banking Center Manager with Banterra, And with our bank, you get the best of both worlds. Our easy-to-use mobile app includes conveniences like mobile check deposit. We offer competitive CD and money market rates, smart mortgage options, and unmatched business products and services. Switching to Banterra is easy. Stop by our locations to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The college and pro football seasons bring friends together, and Leroy's Tavern is a place to watch all the games every week with the NFL Sunday Ticket while enjoying $1 Busch Light drafts every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy's Tavern also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be part of the karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50 years at 2659 Mount Vernon.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
It's bigger than you.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you here on this Monday from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette sitting in with me here. We're brought to you, of course, by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. They've got a 0% sales event going on right now. They've never done that. Never. That's your chance to get into a great Honda. And drive it down to French Lick. Go to the resort casino. It's open. I'm going there. I can't wait to go there this weekend. Have you been to French Lick, Dylan?
I have been to French Lick one time. I am. Yeah, I was. I went to IU, so my friends and I went one time and stayed there for a weekend for taking a break from Bloomington. It was a lot of fun.
Prettiest golf course I've ever walked on. Incredible place, period. But speaking of golf, 2022 PGA Championship will not be at Trump National in the New York City suburbs, as they're saying, yeah, we're out. So there's a little sports impact on what has happened over the past week politically. The PGA, that's a big loss. The New York City area, that golf course, you're losing a PGA Championship, an event that's going to be next year. So it's not like 4 years from now. There's a lot of planning that goes into that stuff, but it will not be held at the Trump National Course in 2022. A little bit of information. That's some fallout. That's impacting a lot of people as well, I would assume.
Yeah, and as we've seen, these things are planned years in advance for a reason. But as we've seen this year, things can change in an instant. Schedules can change at any time. So I guess they probably have contingency plans and things like that. But yeah, it's going to be probably a scramble for the PGA to figure out something else for an event that's only a year and a half away at this point.
College basketball continues. Indiana takes on Purdue this Thursday. And don't forget tonight, inside Indiana basketball, Don Fischer and Archie Miller. That's going on tonight as they get things headed up, coming off of a win over Nebraska this weekend that they desperately needed to have. But it was a game where you saw a lot more balanced scoring, a better attack from Indiana, better offensive output, which is something that is critical as this team moves forward, because without that, it's going to be a tough season. You got a team coming in Purdue that it's not better. You need to win this game because everybody looks as Indiana is being better than Purdue right now. I don't know why that is, because I've seen Purdue play. They seem pretty equal to me, but everything I've seen is everybody sees Indiana as just a little bit higher rated. So that puts more pressure on you. You're playing at home. There's a little bit more pressure, and you're 0-6. So that just dropped the hammer of pressure on top of you. There's a lot of pressure on Archie Miller to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is Purdue is actually, to your point, Purdue is actually in a very similar position to Indiana. They're a young team that's trying to kind of find their way here. They're kind of integrating some younger players into their rotation. And they're coming off a really big win over Michigan State, a game that they trailed by 15 points at halftime. And Travion Williams just had a spectacular second half to kind of lead them to a win. But this is a team that is in a very similar position where they're looking to grab an NCAA tournament resume boosting victory And yeah, if Indiana could go out and win this game, it kind of tells you a little bit about where these teams are. But they're both in a very similar position right now where any win is going to be extremely important.
Alan Hughes hit us up on the comments, said he had dinner down at Bubba's 33 yesterday and then got home in time to watch the Indiana game. So that had to be an enjoyable meal. Good for you. But yeah, the pressure is just going to continue. I talk about it, it's a Purdue game. Yeah, there's pressure because of the rivalry and you're 0-6 against them, and it's just going to aggravate Indiana fans more. But that game will come and go, and there's a ton that are going to be harder and worse after that one because you've got the Michigans and then you got Michigan States, those types of schools who are not having a good season right now. And then there's more pressure to beat them because you're supposed to beat them. The pressure is not going to relent is the biggest point that I think I'm making here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with this Big Ten season. We've said it over and over and over again, but it's really true, is that there really is no let-up on this Big Ten schedule. Nebraska is struggling. That's about as close to kind of a should-win game as you're going to get this season, but you're going to have to win some of these games against teams closer to the top of the standings if you're going to want to be competitive in the Big Ten at all or even make an NCAA tournament. So, yeah, you want to beat Purdue, and then you want to go steal some against Michigan or Michigan State or Wisconsin. You would have loved to have gotten that game against Wisconsin, but you didn't. So now you got to go win some games down the road here against some of these better teams and just steal a few, and that's how you build an NCAA tournament resume.
Ryan hit us up on the Andy Moore hotline, 812-269-6367. Host says, hope all is well. Todd was spot on after the game. Got to find a way to finally beat Purdue convincingly as well. I don't think it has to be convincingly. You just have to win. But I think that this win or this game, it's carrying more importance. It's kind of a teeter point almost. Not that things can't change afterwards, but it's an optics. There's confidence. There's all kinds of things that goes into this game, and I just think the importance is a little bit more than people may realize.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of it too. Is that Indiana has lost 10 of the last 11 against Purdue, and every Indiana fan knows that it's been bad. But 10 of the last 11 is just it hasn't. That's
not acceptable.
It's not. It's not acceptable. No, that is the best stretch for Purdue in this rivalry since the 1930s, right? So Indiana has struggled against this team, and some of the games haven't even been particularly competitive, especially the ones in West Lafayette. Indiana has struggled in West Lafayette. So you want to get one of these in Bloomington, kind of get off the schneid a little bit, and then you can start building your way back into this rivalry. But yeah, it would be great for them to get this one, get above 500. In Big Ten play, you, at that point you would have won 4 of the last 5 and had a double overtime loss in there. So you'd be feeling pretty good about yourself. If you lose, you're back down below 500, and you kind of lost some momentum. So yeah, this is a very important game on Thursday, especially with some time off for Indiana. You got 3 days to kind of prepare for this one.
Yeah, as Tim points out on the Andy Moore hotline as well, 14 of Indiana's games are with top 25 teams. They've already played 4 of them. Actually, more than that. It has to be more than that because you've got Texas and Florida State on top of that. So, and how good is Texas looking? Man, they're looking better and better, which would help Indiana's resume. But Indiana has to add some wins along the way. You've got to continue to battle for that. And there's going to be a lot of teams in the Big Ten that make the tournament this year. But you don't want to be that bubble team. You don't want to be the Big Ten bubble team. And there will be a Big Ten bubble team, and right now it's Indiana, it's Purdue. This is a bubble. This is a bubble game almost, Dylan. It basically kind of is a bubble game. You've got to shut the other person down, basically.
Yes, and that's the thing is you love to get wins over the top teams in the conference. You'd love to get wins over the Michigans or the Michigan States or even the Iowas, right? But if you win these games against a fellow bubble team, that's something that the NCAA tournament's going to look at the end of the season and say, well, we're choosing between these couple of teams who has head-to-head wins over whom. And then they're going to look at these type of games, right? And so, again, there's so many different storylines and so much importance on this game. You don't want to put too much importance on one game because it is a long 20-game Big Ten season. You don't want to kind of pump one game up too much in anyone's mind, but it's hard to escape how important this game is, not only to Indiana as a program because of the rivalry, but to this particular season and what they're trying to build here.
I agree, but the importance is there, unfortunately, like I said, because Indiana, you go back, they haven't – no one has played in the NCAA tournament under Archie Miller. Probably would have last year, but that's a probably. The year before that, they were a bubble team and did not make it. Last year, they were a bubble team, probably would have made it. This year, they're a bubble team again already. It's going to be determined how they finish, but right now they're a bubble team again, and that just can't sit well with people. I mean, there's people that think that the program's on the rise. I'm not one of them that think it's on the rise. I think it is flatlined, and I don't know how you can see it any other way. You just look at the results, and the results speak for themselves, but they have opportunities to change that. I'm not saying they can't change. They can. And they have that chance to do that. So hopefully they will get to do that. But, man, thanks a lot again, Dylan, for joining us each Monday. What you got coming up next?
I will be in Bloomington on Thursday for the Indiana-Purdue game, of course. So looking forward to that. And that's kind of that's the big one this week. And then just kicking back and watching Ohio State and Alabama tonight as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you how tight it is to get into that game. There are seven Indiana credentialed media members that's not a student or, a television person. Luckily, I'm one of those. But, yeah, looking forward to seeing you there. And that's going to be a big matchup. But I hope you have a great day, man.
Absolutely. You as well, Jim. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you. And I appreciate everybody else as well. Always go out and do something nice for somebody. Wear your mask. Tomorrow on the program, always a big one. Tuesdays, you got Mike DeCourcy, Kevin Brockway. Looking forward to that. Chronic Hoosier as well. We appreciate everybody. Go out and get yourself an Andy Moore Honda. They got a 0% sales event going on right now. Can't beat it. From the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios, I'm Jim Coyle. Until tomorrow, make sure you do something nice for somebody. Wear your mask, and I will see you on the radio.